What is going on, LBHT crew? Breaking news. Breaking news. The Panthers, Brodny, have found a head coach. Dave Canales is the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. This is a coach that you mentioned on yesterday's show. One of the finalists, I would say. They talked to him. They talked to Raheem Morris. A couple other candidates, but you it came down to those two who you wanted as the head coach. So, are you happy with this hire?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, he's a young coach, an offensive-minded coach, and the guy who's very highly thought of. He's got a lot of NFL coaching experience. He's been coaching in the NFL since 2010, even though he's only got the 1 year as an actual offensive coordinator. And he has proven himself over the last couple of years, helping to turn Baker around this season. Because he was looking pretty awful in Carolina. And he helped revitalize Geno Smith's career in Seattle the year prior. And I think that we all know that Carolina could use some help with their young quarterback who struggled mightily this season.
Yeah.
And I think that Canales is in a good hire to kind of help out Bryce Young going into year 2 and beyond. And I think more than that, I think he's a guy that Tampa will have patience with, because that's something that's been missing in Carolina. They've kind of given that lip service, like, oh, well, we want to build things the right way, and saying how nothing's built overnight and all this. But then he's firing guys mid-season every chance he gets, right?
Yeah.
And so it's time for them to hire a coach and just kind of stick with them for a while, give them time to really try to turn things around and build something in Carolina. And I think that they're going to do it with Canales here.
So I talked about this on yesterday's show, right? A lot of these coaches get hired based off of how they did as their a coordinator, right? Mostly offensive coordinators. You see some defensive coordinators sprinkled in there when they do a masterful job, which is why the Ravens are afraid that Mike McDonald might be gone. He did a masterful job this year, but typically you see it on offense. And I think we look at it and say, hey, he did a great job with the offense over there. He can do a great job with the offense over here. But being a head coach is more than calling plays, right? In fact, a lot of times that's not really your job. Your job is to implement a system and hire the people that are going to call those plays, that are going to run that philosophy that you put forth. Sometimes you have head coaches that handle the play calling, and that's fine. But these are things that I hope during the interview they worked out. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. Is he going to be able to put together a good coaching staff? We thought Frank Wright had the right coaching staff before. I mean, on paper, he checked all the boxes. It just didn't work out. So those are the questions that I have. He's a first-time head coach. And, who is he going to bring in? And also, are the Panthers, going to insist on him keeping, people like Evero?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think Evero's going to get a head coaching job. There's only 2 openings left, Seattle and Washington. He might be interested in leaving to be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. But, as we saw earlier in this, not the offseason, yes, offseason for Carolina. But as we saw earlier, they blocked him from interviewing for another defensive coordinator position. So they want to keep him there. I think it's going to be a matter of whether Dave Canales wants him on the staff. I can't imagine why he wouldn't want him on staff.
Yeah.
Unless he's just got somebody in mind that he'd been kind of playing out. Because I'm sure a lot of these guys, when they're coordinators, especially when they're younger and people start talking about them, they start getting buzzed. They kind of put a staff together in their heads, and talk to people about it. But we'll see. Like I said, he coached in Seattle for a very, very long time. From 2010 up until this year, he was coaching in Seattle in various positions. So obviously he knows a lot of guys who passed through there. Worked with a lot of people there, but it's just we're gonna have to wait and see who he really tabs as coordinators and position coaches. I think they're going to try and keep Edro Avero. It'd be a great thing for Carolina. He did a fantastic job with the defense, but we'll see. His old job is opened up again with the Rams. That Carolina hired him from LA, and now they just lost Raheem Morris to Atlanta. So the defensive coordinator spot is open there. I'm sure he wouldn't mind a reunion, but hopefully he gets to stay in Carolina.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want some sustainability there. I know that you got it in the front office with Dan Morgan, but I think that would be fine. Letting him handle the defensive side, and like I said, a first-time head coach can use a little help from a strong front office. Some hit the ground running, but I don't see a problem with saying, "Hey, we're going to help you build your coaching staff until you really kind of get a handle on things." Right? Yeah. He doesn't have to worry about Avero on that side of the ball. He knows what he's doing over there. Right? You can focus on the offensive side, bring in your staff there, and run the offense that you want to run. And I assume that the coach that they hired would be somebody that understands that Bryce is their guy. One of the things that we see when new coaches get hired is they want to bring in their guys a lot of times. I'm assuming that he understands the task at hand, that there is no other guy coming. This is your guy. You need to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And the talk is that they were in touch with Bryce Young's people throughout the coaching search, kind of keeping him up to date on what was going on. And he's happy with the hire of Canales. So I'm sure that, there won't be any issues there. From what I've heard about Canales, he's a very easygoing guy, easy to get along with. And, everybody, kind of the kind of guy everybody likes. He doesn't really have, issues with people in the workplace.
Right.
It's from what I've heard. Obviously we don't work with him, but so I think I'm happy with the hire. It's all gonna come down to Dan Morgan and the scouting department and Canales as well. It's a collaborative effort. Yeah. It's gonna come down to how they build the roster, because it doesn't matter who your coach is if you don't have the talent. Like coach, I don't know why it's something that people kind of tend to argue with, but coaching doesn't matter if you don't have the players. It doesn't matter at all.
That's true. It matters to a point where, okay, if you're rebuilding, you can't get everybody in 1 year, and that's kind of Carolina's position, right? We don't expect them to win a Super Bowl next year, but but a coach can start to establish something. Like we're seeing it with the Lions with Dan Campbell, right? When he took over, bad team, right? Mm-hmm. He changed the culture. He changed the attitude there. Now they're different, right? And that permeates throughout the whole team, front office, coaching staff, players. It's a different vibe, and that's what Canales needs to establish. And Canales and Dan Morgan, I should say, they both need to establish that here in Carolina.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't change a culture without winning.
Correct.
It's just not possible to do.
Right, but they didn't. Like the Lions didn't. They make the playoffs last year, but they were competitive.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. Yeah,
right. And I'm saying you want to bring in new blood to kind of start to change that culture, start to build something new. And that's fine. And some coaches kind of specialize in that, and that's great. But it has to come with new talent and competing on the field.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how well liked you are. If Carolina is 1-8, midway through next season, they're all going to hate Canales.
Yes, that's true.
So,
right.
Yeah, they've got to go out there and they got to find the talent, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. The defense has some talent, and they've got a great coach over there, so they've kind of held it together most of the season. The offense desperately needs some help in the pass game and up front.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. We both think that's a good hire. That's a step in the right direction after a disastrous season, and I mean, really, it capped off with Tepper assaulting a fan.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? It wasn't a Panther fan.
It wasn't a Panthers fan. So, that's right.
Silver linings.
All right. We're going to talk a lot about the Panthers this offseason. They have a lot of work to do. We expect them to start doing those things in the offseason. So we're going to keep you guys up to date on what's going on with them. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. All right. And if you don't know, we also cover Ravens and other sports things, especially in the offseason. We like to have fun in the offseason. All right. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.